Welcome to Totally Talent Podcast by HR.com, your go-to source for all things talent. Whether you're looking for expert insights on high-volume hiring, the latest trends in recruitment technology, or strategies for building a winning team, we've got you covered. Join us for each episode as we dive deep into the challenges and opportunities shaping the talent landscape today. Let's get started.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to another edition of Totally Talent from HR.com. I am your host, Mike Wood, and I'm very excited, just in general, but also for today's conversation with Robin Schooling. She's one of my favorite people in the space. I think I've known you for now probably over a decade at this point. But you, as we were talking a little bit before, Robin is the first, when I first got into HR tech, she's probably like the first person that I met that was like really in the trenches with HR and was able to share with some stories. And I still remember some of those stories. If you want to just let people know a little bit about your background, that would be great. Like where have you worked before? Because you have some amazing HR stories.
Yeah, I also want to bring back that name Trench HR. We're gonna get a resurgence of that. So I have been a long time, all my life, my entire career, in and around HR and recruiting. Started as a recruiter, went into HR proper, and over the course of time, have done, I would say, all things sort of HR and people ops and people strategy and recruiting across industries, across company sizes, across stages of growth of the organizations. I've been the VP of HR, I've been a director, I've been a peon in a large global organization, where we had a cast of thousands just in HR. And I like to think that I've always sat at, right? Everybody else likes to say I sat at the intersection of X. I like to think I sit at the intersection of strategy and practicality. I want to solve real problems. I like to think I come in my role now with Humoriso, we're a consulting firm. I like to think that I can come in and help companies and HR teams solve real problems. But yet with this view of the bigger picture, right? The view of the strategy. Why are we doing what we're doing? We're not just doing a checklist. So I still get energized doing the work, doing the HR work in organizations, with our clients. And especially I like working with HR pros and HR teams.
Yeah, so I first met Robin while I was at WorkHuman back in the day, and you are one of those people that are, I guess, an influencer in the space, but you're not full of yourself. So you just are someone that likes to write about what's going on,
Yeah.
and I think you're one of those people that I would want on my HR team to just be like, be real with me. Just like, here's the problem, here's a real way around it. You understand that people have flaws. You understand that, like, companies have flaws, and you can find a good middle ground. So that's what I've always liked about you. But like, you worked at a casino that was on a riverboat, right?
Yes, I did.
What I remember.
Two
I won't
of them,
say who
actually.
it is. Two of them. Okay, there's multiple
two
ones.
of them over time. That's right.
No, were they on the same river?
Yes, they were. They were actually right down the street from each other. So there are. Who would think that Baton Rouge, Louisiana, is a hotbed of gaming? But there's 3 casinos in Baton Rouge, and I worked at one back in the day. Quite a while ago already. I worked in one. And then we were sold, because in the casino industry, you're constantly being sold and bought and whatnot.
Oh, Robin, I lost your audio.
There we go.
There we go. All right. Yeah.
So yeah,
we'll cut
they
that
were, because I'm moving my hands around. I hit my button on my microphone. But they were literally right up the river from each other. We were probably about 2 miles away. You could see one, from each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they actually now are owned by the same company. They were recently both sold and owned by the same company.
But
So
that's where you got the crazy stories that I heard of like
that's
employee relations issues.
yeah,
I mean, a lot of like, yeah, I mean, it's high
yeah,
volume hiring. But
yeah,
you had a lot of employees that had been there for a long time.
yes,
So it was a
yes,
nice mix. Um, uh,
yes.
I love the different podcasts that you run, and anytime I see you speak or at an event, um, I don't know if I think I mentioned this to you. I used to watch Arrested Development all the time, and
Uh-huh.
the Liza Minnelli character reminded me of you a lot, just like constantly, just like around with a big smile and a martini in your hand, having a great time. Uh, but actually, I'm having you on the podcast today because you wrote a book. Tell me about the book.
I know. Well, this was a long time coming. Um, because I started it probably about 10 years ago. Um, I'm going to write a book. I mean, I had been blogging at that point for maybe about 5 years, right? And so, who doesn't, want to write a book? I always had that back in my mind. So I had an outline. I had, this is what I want the chapters to kind of be. I started that. I had drafts going on most of the chapters. This was about 10 years ago. And then I never, like, I started it. I never did anything with it. I never finished it. And it went back into the shelf of my, Google Docs, Google Drive, and sat there. And then about 5 years ago, pandemic era, now's a good time. People are baking bread and learning how to, paint or whatever, play the
Yep.
piano. I'm going to finish this book. I pulled it out and I made some, oh, okay, yeah, no, this still stands the test of time. No, I'm going to change this. And I did some work on it and then never, once again, never finished it. And this past fall, I wrote a blog post about this. So if anybody cares to know, they already know this. I almost died, right? I had a cardiac arrest moment. And so that kind of, triggers a few things. And so once I kind of physically got well, by end of January, I was like, you know what? Damn it. I'm hauling out that book, and if it kills me, I'm going to finish it. And so I did very quickly once I put my mind to it.
Well, it's on my bucket list to do a book of some sort at some time. And I find out you sit down and in front of it, and there's all these things that you want to do, and then it's just so daunting in front of you. So
It is
I saw
daunting.
I usually roll my eyes at motivational posters and stuff, but I saw one the other day that showed like just like an imperfect circle. So like it wasn't completely connected, and it said, "This is fine for now. Refine later."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's
Yeah. Yeah.
perfect. I love it because you just just get it down and out there, and then
Yep.
you can refine it."
Yep.
And so it's here. It's called Real HR: What It Is, What It
Mm-hmm.
Can Be,
Mm-hmm.
and How to Get There
Mm-hmm.
by the one and
Uh-huh.
only Robin Schooling. So I love that you did this. I love that you're okay, by the way. Since I heard about
There you go.
things last fall, that's incredibly scary. But
Mm-hmm.
you seem to have no lasting impression, like problems or anything. You're great, but
Yep.
just in case, we should get your thoughts on hiring now. So,
That's right.
I'm all about totally talent here, and just in what you've seen over the past, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4 years, even longer, like the
Mm-hmm.
whole situations,
Mm-hmm.
it keeps changing. So like I'd love to get your thoughts on
Mm-hmm.
what the current state of hiring is, and and
Mm-hmm.
and obviously AI falls in here, but
Yeah.
just give me some of your
Yeah.
expertise.
I think, I mean, we always say this, right? When we're living it, oh, it's shifting so fast. I I truly think, and we can talk about this with hiring. and talent acquisition specifically in the scope of any business. And we can talk about it business in general, but it is, we always say things are moving so fast. Things are moving so freaking fast. Things change it seems like things are changing day to day, month to month. And when I look at hiring, that's in terms of what is it, what do employers expect? What do candidates expect? What are the processes we're going to go through? What are the processes that we want to add now that we never had before, but now we've got these tools or tech or AI, and we should add it. And if you haven't added it, you're behind the curve. And that need to, and that feeling from companies, from TA teams, oh my gosh, we really better get on this bandwagon, or we are truly forever going to be left behind. I think that is just so accelerated. I think that there is, as always, but there's this overlaying power dynamic, or which direction is the power dynamic going to go, is top of mind for everybody. But when I say that, I mean, again, something else that moves quickly, but who's in charge of the process, or who's got the upper hand, right? Is it an employer market? Is it a candidate market? Which way is the wind blowing? Oh, well, candidates are, picky, choosy, hard to find. Name a whatever that we all said in, the last, 3-4 years ago. That has shifted. There was a really good article yesterday in the Wall Street Journal by Chip Cutter. And I always throw his name out there because I think he writes so well on HR issues. But it's all about this kind of this power dynamic, and companies now saying, we don't care. Everybody's replaceable.
Yep.
And we see it, right? We're gonna lay out these expectations, and it's been a slow trickle, and now there's this avalanche of return to office, full time, done. We're not even going to talk about it anymore. Whatever that. Nope. Bet you wanted all these benefits and this, that, and the other thing. Nope, not going to do that anymore. Now it's back to you got a job, you should be happy.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know who exactly it was, but it was another one of these articles that came out this week about how they don't care about work-life balance anymore. That's your problem.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
essentially, like we've gone back in
yeah,
time to the mindset of like my
yeah,
parents, and you
yeah.
know, there's a reason why work-life balance became a term, because there wasn't any. And so now we're going to throw
Right,
people back.
right.
Like it's basic logistics. So, like
Yeah,
I've been working from home since 2020, since the pandemic. I left an office and never went back.
yep,
And I've been working at home, and that's great because there's so many things that come up with my kids that I have to either go drop them off or pick them up
yep.
somewhere. And so like if you really do want to go back to that work-life balance, it's your problem. Then you're going to have to roll back all the stuff that we've done for women over the past couple decades. You have to run back
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
any types of, like, okay, I'll have to have someone managing the house during the day or managing the
mm-hmm,
kids during the
mm-hmm,
day, whether that I'm paying that for a service so I can pay like the after
mm-hmm,
school program. But now my kid's stuck in school for the
mm-hmm,
majority of every day, and they get
mm-hmm.
they get bored with it. They want to spend time with me. So like I hate to see us going back in time, but the current administration
Right,
is throwing us back in time a little bit.
right.
There's an op-ed in the New York Times this morning about how if you're getting any welfare, you should be working for it. I'm like, yes, that's good on
Yep,
on the
yep.
on the on the outside. Like when you first look at something, yes, you should work for the government benefits that you get. But okay, what if you can't work or you can't work to your full ability? What
Right,
are they saying? Are you
right,
like if you're on
right,
Medicaid? Like my
right,
mother-in-law just retired. She's on Medicaid. Are they going to go make her work some minimum wage job just to get the Medicaid?
right,
And so that's what
right.
I'm afraid of. Is that like,
Yes.
we're gonna like is I think there can be a world where work isn't miserable and that you're paid
Yeah,
what you like a
yeah,
normal wage.
yep.
So there's all these things that
And
are
and
happening
and
in the US. Yeah.
one of the aspects about that, when he talking about my time at the casino, this was the mindset, which comes right into that whole sort of Medicaid and quote work-life balance thing or whatever. We were by no means the only organization in that type of industry that did this. Lots of hospitality, restaurants, service, the Starbucks of the world, whatever. A lot of these types of organizations do that. And that is where they say, we want to have a greater percentage of our workforce be part-time.
Mm-hmm.
So we can talk about all these great benefits we have. Oh, we got this and we got that and blah, blah, blah. And tuition reimbursement if you're full-time and, medical full-time, whatever. But the unspoken truth, well, it's spoken, but certainly not by the company, is but let's have the vast majority of our workforce be part-time. So that was very true in the casino industry, because of course we had, pick a cocktail servers to,
Most
security
high
guards, whatever,
volume type of
you
things
know,
have that.
right. So we always had a mix of part-time, full-time, but over the years, when you looked back from before I was there until through the 3-4 years I was there, but if I looked back 10 years at the numbers, prior to me even walking onto the property, the percentage of part-time employees had become a greater and greater percentage of the workforce by design. And so part of the reason the turnover was so high was because, yes, there's always people who want part-time, but there were also a lot of people that wanted full-time. We couldn't give it to them. So they'd accept something, then they'd quit. And of course, then we're turning over. And you see that a lot still now in those sorts of industries. And so somebody can't get a full-time job or full-time hours, should be eligible, therefore can't get coverage by their employer's medical plan. And now we're going to also tell them, oh, well, too bad. We're not going to let you be eligible for Medicaid. And this person might be working 40, 50, maybe even 60 hours a week between two part-time jobs, can't get coverage through either one of them. And now we're telling them you also can't get
Yep.
Medicaid. Come on.
Yeah. So like you have to have some social programs in place. I think,
Yes,
especially if you tie benefits to your employee. Like you have to be
exactly.
like, okay, I need health insurance. That's just something I need. So I'm going to
Yeah.
try to get a full-time job that gives me that. And if
Yeah.
now I'm getting like, okay, I start a job at like some retail store or whatever, and they don't want to pay me benefits, so they'll give me 20 hours a week. Or,
Yep.
oh, we'll get you more, Mike, we'll get you more. But it's just like this
Yep.
weird power dynamic that so
Yes.
things are
That's going to
tough right
get
now.
worse.
But in terms of like,
Yeah.
another thing that I've been writing about a lot, and I'd love to get your take on it, is that there's just so much clutter in the space right now with candidates. I don't know. I mean, for
Yeah.
years we were talking about, the applying for a job is too hard. You need to make it easier. And then you have like easy apply options that come in, and now
Yep.
you're getting flooded with, okay, there's too much
Yep.
garbage. There's too much,
Yep.
and so like if I go to apply for a job and I see 1,000 people have already clicked apply, do I really even want to put in the effort? And
Right.
and and on the HR side, like I think I told you that my wife's a recruiter for a healthcare company. And
Hmm.
so like she's just like constantly going trying to vet people. And we have AI tools that
Yep.
can vet people, but now the candidates have AI tools, which makes me laugh, which makes
Yep.
me like, yeah, more power to the candidates. But now you're getting AI talking to AI and you're back at square zero.
Exactly.
So I'd love to hear, like, just
Exactly.
in some of the, in your experience over time, or some of the clients that you work with, like, what's the state of TA right now? Like, how are they navigating this?
I mean, that really just sums it up. We are at the point where, in order for somebody to get a job, I just like saying robots. It's two robots talking to each other
Yeah, you
instead
get
of
your
the actual
robot to talk to
people.
my robot, and we'll
Right.
figure something out.
Right.
Yeah.
Figure something out. Um, it just gets me back to, um, and high volume is a different world, right? If I'm hiring whatever, 10,000 people a month or something, that's different than I need to hire, 10 people at my local manufacturing facility, whatever. Um, but the layering of these tools in there for efficiency, um, we approach it from an efficiency standpoint often, right? Automation, hallelujah, right? Let's automate the stuff that is, was very administrative, right? Um, but at what, and now we have to, right? Because my TA team is being cut and my HR clerks don't exist anymore, and somebody's got to do this administrative work. And so that's going to be some technology. So we need the work to get done and get done in a timely manner, but we just keep layering all this stuff in there. And out of necessity sometimes, but then we get to the point where at what point does a person get involved? My daughter this past fall went through, she'd been laid off from her large ginormous corporate entity that she worked for because they went through a round of layoffs. And so she was back on the job market. She also kind of wanted to make a switch, and she was like, I'm kind of done with this big corporate world. She's the antithesis of what most people say. She's like, I want to go back into an office. She's like, I'm so sick of work. She's always worked from home. I want to go, or for years, I want to go back into an office. So she started, applying and interviewing. And she had such a huge number of AI enabled screens and or interviews at the very top end of the process, top of the funnel, right? And she gets it, but she was just like, I am so annoyed with this. And so she would get like these emails or this outreach or whatever, and you could tell there was not a human being attached to it. And she would send them to me along with her response, because she would send a response. She's like, I hope somebody sees the response, but this is what I'm responding. Um, and she would kind of call them out on, and it's one thing to get, oh, here's a screen. Yep, you're not qualified. That's one thing. But as she would kind of start to move through, we want to interview you. And there was still zero real actual human interaction. You could tell. She started to call them out. And there was one that wanted to bring her in for a group interview.
Group
Um,
interview.
a group interview. Still no human being had necessarily picked up the phone, talked to anything, but wanted to do a group interview of like 20 people at one time. And so somewhere I saved what she responded back to them, because I was like, this is great. My child, yes. But she was like, you know, I cannot believe, I can tell there's no human being behind what you're sending me. I, I, I cannot believe that, nobody has picked up the phone to engage with me person to person, but yet you're to bring me in with a group of 20 other people and do a group interview.
Scam. It sounds like a timeshare presentation.
Yeah, it does. It was a legitimate, I forget who the company was, but it was like a legitimate job that she applied for. You could tell that too, but so high volume, they'd removed any humanity from this
Yeah, so if
whatsoever.
you automate the whole process, you're basically telling your candidates you don't care who you're
Yes,
hiring, you just care that you're
right,
hiring someone.
right, right,
And so I think they're
and
like, I hear all these things about like, oh, okay, yeah, AI is going to replace recruiters and stuff. I don't think it's going to replace
mm-mm.
recruiters at places that people don't care about who they're hiring. They're just
Right, right,
butts and seats.
right, right, right.
So
Yeah.
did she get the job? Or did she leave it?
Well, she never heard back from them. That's for sure. After that response, but no, she actually did. So she started a new job and she loves it. She drives to the office every morning. No, she's loving it. She's doing like a comms kind of communications work and things like that. So back to a lot of
Oh, that's
writing and things like that.
good.
So yep, yep,
But yeah, that's the
yep.
and I think one of the things that I've seen that so I've been laid off twice in 4 years, I think. And some of the one thing that I've seen from the job seeker's perspective is that there's been a complete removal of empathy for people.
Yes. Yes.
And basically, like, it's just, and I get it if you're a recruiter on one side and you have to fill your recs, whatever, the best way, nobody
Yep.
cares
Yep.
about how nice you are. Your bedside manner doesn't matter,
Yep.
so to speak. It's
Yep.
just like, it's tough. And it's even worse out there now than it was, I guess, in '08, maybe, in the last recession, because there's less jobs. I mean, and you hear the government numbers, and the government numbers will be like, oh, there's all these jobs. Yeah, but they're jobs that nobody wants.
Right. Right.
Like,
Right.
so I just, like, I feel bad for candidates right now. I know that I try to tell people that I think what's going to happen is there's going to be like a pushback on it. So they'll try to automate as much as they can, and then people will be like, we
Mhm.
can't hire anybody because everybody hates the process. And so,
Mhm.
okay, well, you need an actual person in there. Yes. And not
Yep.
not a chat bot,
Mhm.
not a cool named like
Mhm.
Patty at uh, a burger place. That was one that we had
Patty.
a
Patty at the
we
Burger
had. I
Patty
think
Palace.
it's cute, but like Wendy's, for example, was one of our clients at
Yeah.
iSims, and they named their chatbot Patty. There's Avocado, which is the Chipotle one. But it's just there needs to be a middle ground, and I think that the real recruiting
Agreed.
teams
Absolutely.
that are going to move forward are going to be the ones that actually are not putting candidates through anything that they wouldn't
Mhm.
want to get put through.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's like that. I think I told
Yes.
you, like, at Work Human, we had a open office, and I remember when they rolled that gem out, like everybody, so everybody's like a cafeteria, and it's fine. That's most offices now. But like all the people that were saying, "Oh, I love the open office," they were the people that had doors. And I'm like, "Of course you love it
Right.
because you have a door." I'm like,
Right.
I'm stuck
Yeah.
here listening to all
Yep.
sorts of stuff that like, I should not be
I'm
listening
in the
to.
Glengarry Glen Ross bullpen here out here.
It was just like, I don't miss the days of like an open office, but I do miss the people. I think,
Yes.
as
Agreed.
much as we're taking humanity out of the process with AI, I think the
Mhm.
companies that do it, that actually put a premium on how they're treating people,
Mhm.
are going to start rising to
Mhm.
the top. I hope, unless
Mhm.
this whole world is just
Yes.
going down to the tubes.
Yep. And ooh, look at me. I'm going to bring it back to my book. 'Cause
Yes, we probably
my
should
book
bring it
is
back to
coming
the
up.
original reason we were talking.
But
Yeah.
but to your point, I think it's future proofing. So if I'm an HR professional, I'm a TA professional. Heck, I could be in any industry, right? But I think about how am I going to future proof my career. We're at that point now where if I'm in HR, I'm in TA, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to learn all the things. And yes, you do. You have to be curious. You have to understand what's going on. Try out, test these different tools, see what AI is about, whatever it is, right? But future proofing your career or your role or your job isn't just about chasing these shiny tools or knowing how to use them. I think it's about building and having a clarity of purpose so that if I work in HR, if I work in TA, um, why am I here? What am I doing? What do I believe? What are my values? What are my beliefs? How do I make this better if I'm going to work in this field? So if I'm a TA leader or a recruiter, I'm going to ask myself, what do I believe about the hiring experience? What kind of workplace am I helping to shape with every candidate or with every hire that comes across my desk? What are those values by which I operate as a recruiter, as a TA leader? And then you have that voice and you strengthen that voice and you raise your hand and you speak out and you speak up and you say things exactly like we've been talking about, which is, okay, everybody, let's take a time out. Let's think about it. Yeah, these tools are efficient. They're helping us in this way. But if we want a hiring experience to be like this, or we want a workplace to be like that, what do we need to do? At what point do we need to do some intervention and bring that human element back in.
Yep. And look at the metrics.
And that
Look at
becomes
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, look at where people are dropping off. If everybody's dropping off at one
Yep.
step, everybody hates that step.
Yep.
And so, like, I mean,
Yep.
where's the, you want to have some drop off, but not like the complete system. Just like you don't want to lose
Everybody.
lose
Right.
good candidates because you're extremely annoying to apply for a job to.
Yeah.
I've been I went in an interview session once with one company that I think I had like 7 or 8 interviews over like.
Oof.
And it was like at the end, I was like, oh, I've gone so far, I can't just pull my name out of this. But like, it was a complete waste of time.
Yes.
And I should have known that, like, okay, this
Other
is
than
how.
practice.
Well, it's like this is how the company is going to work. They can't make a decision. So
Yep.
this is what life is going to be like.
Yep.
There is that they'll just be in meetings about meetings, which we all love meetings.
Yep.
So we are
That's right.
coming up on time a little bit. We didn't spend much time talking about the book, but we talked about lots of issues. But where can people get this book, and where can people find you?
So the book is, so I'm self-published, right? So I don't have the power of, a publishing house or anything behind me. So the hardest part has been kind of that piece of it, more so even than writing it. So the book launch date is actually May 15th.
That's tomorrow.
The ebook is that's tomorrow. The ebook is available. The paperback, because I had problems formatting, is going on sale on Saturday.
Awesome.
So they're like not even, so I've got 2 launch dates if we look at it that way. So currently just on Amazon for sale. I'm looking at adding a couple other venues, but that's the beast, right? So currently there, realhrbook.com is my book website. But then of course I'm on LinkedIn and my own blog and all that kind of stuff. And I'm setting up all these accounts, right? So like I'm Goodreads. I had a Goodreads account that I forgot I had because I never used it, but now I'm in there with an author page.
Good.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I got to look at the whole self-publishing thing at one day, but it just seems like there's a lot to digest.
It is, but it was kind of, so I've said to other people, John, who shall remain nameless, right? But I said to him, let me get through this and then I could help you do it. So
good. Well, I'm glad that
so
you
some
went through
learning
this
how to do it.
process, because like when I put my masterpiece out there, it's funny. I don't want to write a
That's right.
Yeah, I don't want to write a business book or anything. I want to write like a horror novel. Like that's what I care about. And so like that's what I've been kind of going back and forth in my head. But anyway, enough tangents. Real HR, it's coming out soon. I will link to it in the wrap and a bunch of other places. Please follow Robin Schooling. She's wonderful, and I wish we had more time to talk about ridiculousness of HR right now. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mike.
And take care.
Thanks for tuning in to the Totally Talent podcast by HR.com. We hope you find today's episode insightful and inspiring. Don't forget to explore more episodes and discover valuable resources at hr.com/podcasts, where you can listen to all of our podcasts. Until next time, keep leading with purpose and making a difference in the world of talent.